Hello everyone and welcome to Kdh Art Class. Today we're going to focus on positive and negative space. And the items that you're going to need today is a piece of paper, a pencil, and something to color with. I'm going to be using a mixture of crayons and markers, but you can use whatever you have around the house. Okay, let's begin. First thing we need to talk about is positive space and negative space. When you draw something on your piece of paper, you're adding something to it. That would be the positive. At the same time, your piece of paper, you're taking something away from it by putting something on there. Therefore, it's the negative space around it. So we're going to do one that highlights each. So the first thing I want you to do is take your piece of paper and fold it in half. Little ones usually have difficult time. Make sure you line up your corners. Hold your corners really good, and then bring one finger down, and then go to one side and then to the other side. And you usually do a pretty good job folding that way. Okay. So we have our two sections. The next thing we're going to need to do is figure out what we're going to add to it. What kind of positive space are we going to add? So I'm going to switch. You're going to use your pencil. I'm going to use my marker since my camera doesn't like the markers too much, and I'm going to choose a shape. So a nice simple shape could be a heart. Everybody's probably laughing, going like, she always does heart or love. I can't help it. It's what I do. I love that happiness. Alright, and from these two dots that I have drawn on my paper, and I think I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to do the same two dots and try and line them up as much as possible. I'm going to do kind of like my rainbow that comes down to that dot. Kind of looks like the letter C, as in cute, cuddly, comfortable. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And they're not going to look exactly alike. But that's what I love about art. The imperfections are perfect. And I'm going to go the other direction. And this is where people get upset. And they're like, oh, it's not the same. And it's okay if it's not the same. My little secret is this side is always better than that side. And I don't know why. I think it's because I'm crossing over this way. Who knows? All I know is I am doing my little heart. Unless, of course, your paper moves on you and it messes up your little heart. But that little imperfection is perfect. I love it. Alright, so one of these is going to be our positive space heart, and one is going to be the negative space heart. So if I'm going to make this one my positive space heart, I'm going to need to use one of my colors, and I chose crayons because I'm going to do a big area. And the first thing that I need to do is make sure that I go right down that folded line, because we're doing two different artworks, simple artworks, but still two different artworks that are showing this one's positive, this one's negative. If my heart is positive, then that's what's going to be the pretty thing. Let's focus on the positive. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's decorate this heart. And since lately we've been focusing on lines and space, Now, we could do all kinds of fun lines in here. Now, my other students that have more materials handy, scissors and glue, there's another positive negative space project you can do, and they're actually gluing on, they're adding other pieces of paper in strips. So I think I'm just going to make this one kind of match that lesson for my students at home that during this COVID 2020 year are not able to do some of the projects because they're lacking the materials. And I don't want them to miss out on anything. And of course, lately I've been into all the teals, pinks, and purples with pops of bright yellow. Kind of as a combination thing. And I just want you to fill it in. You can color your heart any way that you want, but just the heart. So as you're coloring, make sure you take your time and you stay in. There's my fuchsia, or excuse me, magenta, raspberry. Here's my raspberry color. It's more of that red color. It's basically a pink and purple mixed together, and since I love pink and I love purple, you just can't go wrong with it. Okay. Make that just a smidge skinnier, and I've also gotten into highlighters. I mean, they're like smooth going, big tipped markers that are super bright and fun. And of course, nowadays all of these highlighters are starting to come in super fun colors too. Alright, so this is the positive space heart. Now, to fill in what would be the negative space. All of this around here is your negative space. So I'm just going to take one of my colors and I'm going to color in all of the negative space. So my students at school took a piece of paper, and knowing me, I probably gave them a black piece of paper, and then I gave them a bunch of little strips and with color combinations of construction paper, just all whatever comes in the package, the 8, 10, 12, 15, 30, however many different colors you can get in a package. And then I made them I cut the strips, and they had to glue it down on a paper. And I have this lesson on my YouTube channel, so you can look it up in case you do have the scissors and the glue and the construction paper to do the positive negative space. So they used the scissors to cut out the positive and negative space and glued it on top of their design. So we're pretending that we're cutting out a heart out of fun colored paper and attaching it to our negative background. Because again, we are adding the heart, which is taking away from, in this case, my grayish black color paper. And I'm keeping this nice and simple for my elementary students because this is a probably pre-K through 5th grade possibility, depending on how advanced. You could do the letter of your name, block letters. We tend to do that a lot. Sorry, just have to kind of blend it in a little bit better. I can't help myself. You know, I take a look and something was a little bit darker sticking out. So now I'm trying to hide it. Ooh, I can make it like a shadow. Go a little bit darker just on this one side. There we go, which means I need to do this just a little bit darker to kind of match up to it. There, great, like a little shadow. Of course, tonight, you can tell I'm doing this videotaping when it's dark outside, whether it's rain or not, because my shadows are so much more on, on my video. All right, so congratulations, you did a positive heart, and we took away from the background, so the background is the negative here. So now let's do the opposite. Let's say we took this heart away from this paper, and what used to be here would be the black. Well, that's a little confusing, so let's do it together. With the same color that I used for my background, and again, you could have used any color you want. I have students that no matter what, it's going to be orange. I'm going to color, orange is my favorite color, or blue is my favorite color, or pink is my favorite color. They're going to pick their favorite color. So I let them have that bit, but then I force them to do other colors until we get to a monochromatic project. Ta-da! Okay, so you can see where this heart used to be on this side of the paper, and it was cut out and put over here. Or this was cut out and put over here. In either case, here's our positive, here's our negative. But now, here's the hole. This is the hole. That is your positive space still, because that's the shape in there. But here's the new negative, which matches the positive here. So confusing. So your positive and negative can be either way. You could have your negative be in the middle, where the hole is, where that shape is. I know I confused you earlier. And your background be the positive, or vice versa. So this is positive and negative, and you're just learning to understand that you're taking things away and you're adding things. All right, so I said we have to match it. So here we go. We need to finish this project up. And it got super confusing there, so I will clarify that. I am now working on my positive background because I took away the heart from here and put it over here, or I took away this black heart, gray heart, and put it over there. Okay. Taking away and adding is creating your positive and negative. And again, I had my other students glue on these strips of paper onto their papers, and then they glued on the black paper that they cut out. So they either cut out the heart and put it there and put the background here, or vice versa. And you can tell I'm a little tired. It's dark outside, it's the weekend, and I keep stumbling around. Positive and negative, taking stuff away and adding stuff. And without actually cutting the paper and gluing it on, it does get a little confusing. But I'm trying. I'm trying to just use this with colors so that you can better understand the positive and negative And of course, look at me, I'm trying to match up these stripes. You do not have to. But again, can't help myself, because I'm thinking of the other project and we're just trying to match that other project. And they had bits of papers, colorful papers of course, and they were adding their positive and negative space to it. I'm going to go ahead and make this yellow is so bright and fun. And that teal is not very big, so it's about there. Where I don't have the heart, I can put the colors wherever I want. Let's see. I did those two colors, so I have my last two. And filling in these lovely little stripes. You notice when I work with markers, I draw very slowly and in one direction to help the marker not dry out. If you go scribble, scrabble, scribble, scrabble, scribble, scrabble, your markers are going to try and dry out on you, and they will look that way. And these poor markers have been through a lot. So when we went into quarantine, I grabbed whatever I could grab. And I've been using these markers a lot, so when you grab old markers, they start drying out. Oh, and one last color left, and I will be done, and hopefully you'll better understand what I was talking about. When you take away something, it creates negative and positive spaces. And you can look at it differently, and that's where it gets confusing. Because when you create a hole, it can be negative space. But if I was to take it out of there and add it, then that's the positive space. So it could be both. Depending on the situation. Working with clay is also a lot easier at explaining positive negative space, because you could take some of the clay away from the design. Of course that creates a negative space. You took it away. Or if you add clay, you're adding positive space. So this was easier to understand with my elementary students, as in positive and negative, depending on what the paper started. So let's pretend this was the colored background with all this cool design, and we took a black piece of paper and we cut out a heart, and we glued the black piece of paper on there and glued the heart here. If that was the case, this negative space now becomes the positive because it's bright and coming forward. Okay. And this negative space, we took it out, becomes the positive over here. Or if we had this striped piece of paper, the colorful piece of paper and we cut the heart out of that and put it here, we're adding it here, creating this as the positive space, and this is the negative space. Okay. Or, because this is the positive space, that makes, let's say we put it onto the black paper, that makes this the negative space. And since we cut out the hole, that would be the negative space. So it can be confusing. What did you take away and what did you add? And that is where it gets tricky when you're doing this little piece of paper, because the bright is so bright, this looks like the negative, even though with the paper it's supposed to be the positive. Okay. And this looks like the positive, because this is dull and it's in the background, negative. Well, in any case, I hope you enjoyed this confusing, because it could be multiple different choices, ways of learning positive and negative space without anything but paper and colors. It's much easier to learn positive and negative when you have materials such as the scissors and the glue to create the stuff, or clay that you can take away or add to it. But for right now, I think we did pretty good. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and have a great day.